Hey everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the 3 books that had a profound impact on my life. I think that if you read these books, it'll help expand your worldview and hopefully have a positive impact on your life as well. By the way, I'm Amanda, I'm a Gen Z bookworm, and I read over 60 books every single year. Of the hundreds of books that I've read over my lifetime, I distilled all of them down into 3 that I found really helpful. The first book on the list is The Molecule of More by Daniel Lieberman. This book is about dopamine, a molecule that's inside all of us, and how it impacts every facet of our life. Lieberman describes it as, to your brain, this molecule is the ultimate multi-purpose device, urging us through thousands of neurochemical processes to move beyond the pleasure of just being into exploring the universe of possibilities that come when we imagine. It is a blessing and a curse, a motivation and a reward. This is dopamine, and it narrates no less than the story of human behavior. Basically, this book dives into the mechanisms for want and desire, something that I think all of us are plagued with as humans. Once we understand how this molecule works and impacts us, we can move beyond just living in the future and learn how to live in the now, live in the present moment, and have a happier life. I know that there has been so much information online lately about dopamine to the point where it's almost vomit-inducing, but I still think there's a lot to learn on the subject. Personally, this book had a huge impact on me when I was struggling with my social media addiction. You can watch that video here, but basically I was really addicted to content, and I was fully stuck in the content casino of TikTok. Now, I've gotten a lot better over a year since I quit, but this book was instrumental in me finally putting my foot down and getting rid of TikTok for good. Outside of that one huge problem, this has changed how I go about every single facet of my life and learning to discover what I truly want instead of just being like hooked on a system that's constantly desiring more. The next book that really impacted me is Why Does He Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men by Lundy Bancroft. Now, this is a sensitive topic, so if you're uncomfortable with talking about, I actually don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but if that's a topic that's sensitive to you, please feel free to click off. Basically, this book focuses on and their psychology, how they view the world. While it primarily focuses on heterosexual romantic relationships, Bancroft even says that these dynamics can apply to a wide variety of relationships, no matter, your sexual orientation, your gender, or even the type of relationship. For example, these dynamics are normally within a romantic partnerships, but they can happen between a teacher and a student, a manager and an employee, a coach and an athlete. I think that it's important to learn about this behavior because we're humans constantly interacting with other humans. There's a lot of power putting a name or a definition to an action that feels sort of indescribable, because once we know that, we can clearly call it out if we see it. Once we recognize that behavior, we can better protect ourselves and our loved ones. I don't mean to sound alarmist. Most people in the world are going to be fantastic, but every once in a while, you'll come across someone that just isn't great. If you read this book, you then get the power to sort of push back against that. This book had a huge impact on me because I was in a relationship that I would describe as, we'll say, toxic for the sake of YouTube. Don't worry, I'm okay. It was a long time ago, and it was actually between me and a coach. It was rather my team broadly and a coach. I didn't understand at the time why I felt so much stress going into practice every single day. Days before I would see this coach, I would feel dread, I would feel anxiety, and then sometimes we'd get to class and it would be fine and everything would be great, and he'd be such a loving, great teacher. But then every once in a while he would kind of snap and get crazy. I remember one time very clearly where we did a drill for about 5 to 10 minutes, and he did not like that. And so he ended up screaming at us for 50 minutes straight. And I'm not talking about screaming from the sidelines or yelling advice to us. I mean, personally telling every single one of us that we weren't going to amount to nothing and that we sucked and we were never going to go anywhere and we should probably just give up now if this is how we were going to behave. I know, okay? In hindsight, that's obviously bad. But at the time, I didn't understand that verbal toxicity was a thing. I was younger and I was naive. I wish I'd read this book sooner because that could have helped me navigate that situation more and actually advocate for myself that this coach's behavior was not okay. Also, if you're an aspiring writer like me, understanding the psychology of someone like this can be really helpful if you're trying to write a character that has such a horrific worldview. I'm not sure how else to describe it, but it can be helpful to get into the mind of a character like that. This book is available on Amazon, but there also may be a link in my description that links to a Reddit thread that has the link to the PDF for free allegedly. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. Again, serious topic, but sometimes serious topics need to be discussed. And I think that if you read this book, it'll better equip you to stay safe in this world. The next book is Invisible Women: Exposing Data Bias in a World Designed for Men by Caroline Criado Perez. Feminism at this point is such a huge ideological group that contains everyone from people like Andrea Dworkin, who's like a hardcore feminist, to, you know, girls who just have like a feminist AF necklace. Basically, there's a lot of people talking, a lot of opinions, and a lot of noise. I personally used to be confused about feminism. I'd hear some feminists talk about how much progress we still need to make in this world, and then I would hear other people talking about how women have it all already, and so there's nothing left for feminism to do. It wasn't until I read this book that I gained a lot of clarity. What I love about this book, it moves beyond theory into concrete examples about how the world is sort of failing women, and it has data to back up these ideas and concepts. For example, I'm a real estate nerd, and I found the chapter on designing cities really interesting. In this chapter, Criado Perez goes on to talk about public transportation and how most public transportation is designed around the idea of a man living in the suburbs, going down to the city to work and coming back. But this actually doesn't benefit women that much, because traditionally and still women take on the primary like caretaker roles. And so a lot of times women are just going around their neighborhood and public transportation doesn't serve them. So while a man is going directly to work and coming back, a woman has to bounce around the different neighborhoods as she drops off the kids, as she goes to the grocery store, and then as she goes over to grandma's house to, you know, take care of her there. Basically, she has a very disjointed way of getting around the city. This is particularly funny considering that women are primarily the ones who use public transportation. And so I found that chapter really enlightening about how perhaps we need to view policies and infrastructure through a lens that benefits everyone and their needs and not just the default. See what I mean? Very concrete example with clear actionable steps on how to improve it. Even though I know adjusting public transportation is a nightmare, but she, for example, says that we just need more buses running neighborhood to neighborhood instead of focusing all of our resources on getting people downtown and back to the suburbs. So if you're interested in women, if you like women, or if you're interested in the experience of women, I highly recommend checking out this book. If any of you have book recommendations, please put them down below. As I said, I'm a really avid reader, and so I would love to check out the book. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!